My first prediction for the year of 2026, and it is that Claude Code dies. Hello and welcome to Not Replaced Yet. My name is Nick Bushkar. I'm here with my brother Jesse. Say hello, Jesse.
Hello, hello.
Today we are talking about our predictions for AI in the year of 2026. 2025 had so much to give us, and this year there is so much to come. Jesse, why don't you tell the fine people what our format's going to look like today?
Yeah, and just as a caveat, it is the 1st of February. We were later than we had hoped to produce this video, but I think everything still holds true. We have a little bit of the benefit of the first month in our context windows. But yeah, Nick and I are going to take turns giving the predictions from our lists. We've done these independently. We obviously talk a ton, and so I'm sure there'll be some things that we're aware of, maybe some surprises for each other. But I think you're going to kick it off, right? Like, give us one. We're going to talk about it, and then we'll kind of ping pong back and forth.
Yes. All right. Here is my first prediction for the year of 2026, and it is that Claude Code dies. And long live Claude Code. Okay, what do I mean? Claude Code was a side project for devs, by devs for devs, right? Boris Cherny created it on his own while he was working at Anthropic, and it's become the leading agentic coding platform for all of us engineers out there. And so the name itself, Claude Code, is clunky, and it's scary to non-technical people. You have to use it in the terminal. And I mean, there are some GUIs, like you can create, you can, if you have VS Code, you can have the Claude Code plugin, but it doesn't have all of the features. And even that, downloading VS Code for non-developers is a little scary. And so, and I mean, nobody likes the terminal. Non-devs don't even like the terminal. Not even all devs like the terminal. And that was proven out by Windows, basically, in the 1990s, because DOS died for the normie user. And so my point is that the Claude Code name dies and a new name shines through, and they have already created it, and it's called Claude Cowork. And both of them nicely have the CC acronym for their first initials, right? Or acronym, I don't know. The initials are both CC. And so, but I'm not saying that Claude Code truly goes away. Devs will still use essentially what is Claude Code. And I do think, though, that by the end of 2026, the naming simply changes. Jesse, what do you think?
I mean, maybe so. I will say, like, it's the lead horse in my stack, and it is for you as well. And so definitely agree with the prediction that it's not going away. I think the naming convention, I agree with you, is clunky. Anytime you use the word code, it's just alienating to such a huge percentage of people who could otherwise use a very valuable tool. And I mean, I'm an example of that, whereas I'm a developer, but I'm not building things for production most of the time. I'm building tools for myself, tools for our team. I don't know. It's just there is a formality that still feels like it comes the terminal and the CLI. So yeah, I take no issue with it. If Cowork becomes the brand, maybe that everything just merges into that. I am frustrated that it's Mac only for now. By the time we actually publish this, maybe there's a Windows version, because I'm interested in the computer use of all that stuff. So should be fun to watch.
All right. What do you got for me? What's your prediction?
All right, let's see the order that I got to make sure we got it here. Okay, so I think prediction number one for me for 2026 is not a super hot take, but it is an evolution and a dot that connects back to last year. Last year, I should have looked up the date, but it was late January, early February. Sam Altman tweeted out that 2025 is the year of the agent. I'm sorry. We talked a lot about it, a lot of development, a lot of building, but 2026 is the year of the agent, and it's the year of the agentic impact. That's, I'm biased. I have my ad agency where Nick and I both work, And I'm seeing such real value by using, building, and deploying agents. And it really started with Opus 4.5. In fact, the day that we're recording this, Opus 4.6 came out about, I don't know, 2 hours ago or something. And that was really a new, level of being able to use these tools for real work. And so here we are at the beginning of 2026. I can see how good they are now, how good they've become, how fast they've become better. And I just see that this is definitely the year where we get to the end of 2026. You will have line items for your agents at your businesses. They will be a part of the economy at a non-trivial scale.
You know my position on this. I completely agree. This is absolutely true. I think 2025 was a bit too presumptuous, and 2025 was the rise of agents, but it wasn't the year of agents. I do really think that this is going to be sort of a watershed year. It's almost like maybe Claude Code can be seen as like a ChatGPT moment for agents. And I think that all I could say is well said.
Yeah, I think the first two weren't too far out of left field. Maybe we get a little crazier with the next couple. What's your next prediction?
Well, okay, so I'm going to piggyback off your prediction there, and I'm going to say that 2026 is to world models as 2025 was to agents. And basically what I mean by that is they're 12 to 18 months early. And so the hype cycle around world models is already rising. You have prediction after prediction from all the pundits saying that world models are coming, and you have I will say there seems to be a distinction, and a good one, between the pundits and the experts. So, for example, Fei Li, she launched World Labs and launched their World API. What was it? January 21st of 2026. And she called it the GPT-2 moment for 3D spatial reasoning. And so that's not hype, right? I think that that's a strong claim right there, and I think it's really smart. And she's being, specific and cautious, I would say. But then you have all of the pundits and people who are excited about it overhyping world models. And so Jan LeCun left. I may not be the biggest Jan LeCun fan, but he left Meta to build world models. He founded AMI Labs, and I have a quote here, to build, quote, systems that understand the physical world, have persistent memory, can reason, and can plan complex action sequences. And so, that is my prediction, is that world models are coming, but this will not be the year of world models.
I like that a lot. I think I'm very intrigued by world models. Just for the audience, give a brief explanation as to what a world model is differently than the typical AI that they've probably interacted with.
Oh, yeah. So a world model is something that essentially builds an internal, like, simulated representation of the physical environment. So, and then it can then predict the future outcomes and consequences before acting, right? So, I think of it as it's essentially a physics generator in a way. And so it creates this world model, and that is something that's fundamentally different than, it is fundamentally different than a video AI creator like a VO3, but they are linked, right? And because a AI video creator is trying to predict what is going to occur each frame, what's happening. Every single frame changes. And so, but a world model is this real-time live, think of it as like a 3D game where you're going through it, and the constant physics predictions of what's coming next. That's what it is.
Yeah. I'm very excited about world models. I'll be curious if you're undershooting you said 12 to 18 months. I think if I were to put a prediction on it, it might be further out. Of course, everything moves faster than, it's almost impossible to flex my brain to try to predict the pace of change. So I just always assume I'm under predicting, but I was disappointed with Runway 4.5 touted that it was stemming from their world model that they're building and things like that. And So I'm a little skeptical on the timing. I think long game, certainly, like every pixel is generated, and that includes 3 dimensions like we're living in Ready Player One. But yeah, we'll see.
All right. So we're not disagreeing about anything yet. So maybe we should have gone for more controversial takes. But all right, what's your next prediction?
Well, we don't want to be wrong. I mean, that's
Right.
No, let's see. All right. So this one is not the most fun. My prediction number 3 is that foundation models commoditize for the vast majority of uses and users. So, in the last 2 years, 3 years since we've all been AI pilled, GPT-4 was a giant launch and a huge jump ahead. And you had this separation, OpenAI and Anthropic, and then Google was way behind, and now everyone's catching up, and open source models are better and better. And I don't think that we will be talking about or caring about in the public space what the foundation models are evolving to support as one-on-ones. I think it fuels the agentic side. I think that, the frontier kind of bleeding edge of science, math, things like that definitely still benefit from the smartest of the smart models. But the long tail of user queries that are helping people brainstorm their niche challenges in different domains and things like that, I think you're going to get the same results and value and intelligence from OpenAI's models, Anthropic models, Google's models, and probably, dozens of cheap or, free to use models, open source or just lower, lower intensity, lower GPU usage, et cetera. So not the most fun, but I think the layer moves up, the interesting layer moves up for most of us that aren't building these foundational models ourselves.
Just to clarify, you're saying that something like, today, Opus 4.6 came out, and also, what was it? Codex 5.3 or what did, yeah. So you think that they're essentially equivalent to one another, and that the difference might be, I mean, what is the difference to you then at that point? Is it simply feel? Like, I just like the way Claude interacts with me. That I just prefer it, and it's more subjective than objective there. And so, I mean, is that kind of the take?
I think I like it too, right? I just did some experiments with Codex, and I'm sure it is more capable than it used to be, but I still come back to Claude, and I don't know how much of that is capability, how much of that is style, how much of that is muscle memory, whatever. I think though, for the non-power user, they already kind of don't care. If I sit down and I'm going to build something, and maybe it's contingent on stakes, meaning like the higher the stakes, the more specific tool, the more kind of, credence I give to the perfect tool. But if high stakes, if it's informational, if it's brainstorming, if it's, anything that's just, the bulk of, my equivalent to a Google search in the past, right? It's more interface, and maybe it is something around Google, because like if I already have my Android phone in my pocket, if the app's already, a physical button click away, those things, it's like, I don't really care if Gemini is the one telling me my pizza recipe or, checking the movie times at the theater, or I don't know, whatever the average use case is. So that's more what I'm saying, not so much the Claude Code Codex layer. I think the only other piece that I would add is, it's a quote that comes to mind, which maybe, negates my downplaying of the not very fun prediction, but it's the William Gibson quote of "the future's already here, it's just not evenly distributed." I feel that a lot these days. Like the invention is out of the genie, like the mixing all my metaphors and analogies, but the genie's out of the bottle, like it's there. And now there's this implementation, and also more invention is happening too. But I think it gets really interesting just because it's so diffused around society.
All right. Well, so I'll go on to my next prediction.
All right. This is what, number 3?
This is my third. All right.
Yeah.
And it is Perplexity gets acqui-hired. All right. So Perplexity is a wrapper search engine in a moment where every single foundational model company
Wiki.
great research.
Sorry.
And the browser flopped. Amazon is suing them over their shopping agent. They are valued at around $20 billion on roughly 150 to 200 million ARR, which is a 120x revenue multiple. And they have to hit a 230% growth or hit 230% growth just to make the multiple make sense. And they are burning cash on infrastructure. They have 100 to like 200 employees that have backgrounds spanning people from OpenAI, Google Brain, DeepMind, Berkeley, and the concentration of that talent is more valuable than the product itself. And so I just do not, I see them having, their product right now is their talent as I see it. And so that leads me to who do I see acqui-hiring them? And my number one pick is Apple. Apple's M&A head, Adrian Perica, and services chief, Eddie Q, have been actively discussing a Perplexity bid internally. That's the reports that I see. And we all see that Apple is not getting into, has not gotten really into the AI game up to this point. They recently signed a deal for Gemini to be the engine behind Siri. And so they have so much cash on hand. They have so much space to grow into the AI ecosystem at large, and the Perplexity team at Apple could be really dangerous. I think that could be really interesting. I do think that Microsoft is an interesting player here. I mean, truthfully, all my bets are the big players because those are the only ones who have the ability to actually acqui-hire them. But Microsoft is a big player and Perplexity literally just signed a $750 million 3-year deal with Azure. And so they have a relationship there. They have a relationship with Jeff Bezos. So a Bezos Amazon thing could go on, even though Amazon is suing them. That could also be sort of like leverage. Jeff Bezos is a personal investor in Perplexity already. And I know he's not the CEO, but I mean, Bezos and Amazon.
Yeah.
The same thing. And then Meta, although Meta's my last place because I think Meta's actually going to slow down on their sort of acquisition space, but I could be wrong. I mean, they might be wrong. But they tried to they approached Perplexity in like spring of 2025, and they were turned away. But Jan LeCun's gone now, and I think he was a major part of that. I could be wrong about that detail, but yeah, that's my number 3 prediction. Perplexity gets acqui-hired by Apple.
I would agree with your first part, and I think it's like the acqui-hire. You've made this point before where like there's all these kind of like early AI brands that are here and present, and we're talking about them still because they were early, but it is truly a different era that we're in. And if you aren't, creating a best-in-class foundation model or doing something interesting at the foundation level, and you're not shipping apps that people really are excited about and love, and maybe that they would argue with, but I would agree. I don't see them like kind of pulling their own weight. The talent pool is a great point that you make. The only thing I would say is I think it's impossible to tell who would buy because all of the relationships and investment paths have become so much more clouded. Like the OpenAI funding round that I've been reading about as of late January 26, Amazon is like the leader in that round, and so like Amazon in my mind is the Anthropic backer or large Anthropic backer, and here it is reported they're going to make this giant hedge bet, as I would see it. And so I think everybody who has money is in every race, right? And so who knows who that is, but I do think Apple's a smart money. I think Apple would be silly. Now, who am I to criticize Apple, but would be silly to not be doing a lot. The Gemini piece is fine, I guess. Like, I don't know, that didn't really excite me, but like, sure, great. But they should be really trying to be innovative, get a little Steve Jobs back in there.
All right, another non-disagreement. I like it. All right, give me your next prediction.
Okay, number 4. This is 4 out of 5. This one I think is a much more relatable prediction to anyone in the audience. It is that a new class of AI native jobs emerge. And I don't mean
Uh,
developer jobs. I think the developer jobs is, it will rapidly evolve. Don't get me wrong, but the impact has been made. If you are either going to be using AI to write code and to interact with technology as a technologist, or you're not. I mean this in much more of a broad industry, broad class of jobs sense. The pregame to this was the prompt engineering, right? 2 years ago, is that people are getting paid $300,000 to be prompt engineers. I think the journalism jumped to the meta story of 2025, where we were paying a billion, or even, I think it was a billion. I don't think there was a 10 billion offer, but maybe there was, to like AI scientists and like researchers and things.
I think
I
it's
feel like
one.
Yeah, I feel like the journalism jumped from prompt engineer to the big salary number. And what they missed was the fact that no one is, I don't believe, like really out there hiring prompt engineers as like a title and a singular skill set. But
It shouldn't
what
be.
I'm no, what I mean by this is that, and this is not hypothetical. Again, this is, me owning a company that, works with talented people and has to onboard talent and different roles. Um, if someone comes to a job interview and says, not only can I do this, I can also be impactful and effective in 10 different other ways because of being effective at using these AI tools, it's like, shut up and take my money, right? Like, get in here and help us build what we're building, because you have an outsized value. You are a force multiplier in the workforce. I think that, and I will say, I don't know what the job title is or what the titles are. I feel a little bit uncreative in that challenge. But I do think that the stakes are so high, the force multiples are so high, that by the end of 2026, we will all be talking about a class of job that we didn't have a name for today.
I might phrase it slightly differently, and I simply think that set of skills get injected into all jobs. And I don't know. I mean, I might put it at a like a 2 to 3 year run, like a rate of how like long it actually takes to really infiltrate everywhere. But to that point, I simply think that in modern business, having a general comfortability, a general understanding of what AI is and can do for you, and sort of the space around what, whether you're in engineering or HR or design or whatever, sort of silo you're in, you're going to have to interact with it, and you're going to start infusing it into your work. And so, maybe that doesn't come with a new job title, but it just starts to be a part of normal business.
Yeah. I mean, that is what the last technology revolution did, right? When the internet came on board, we don't have a class of like internet specialists where everybody else doesn't use the native internet channels and tools. It's that everyone has had to onboard email, onboard, and then mobile, depending on how you weight those things. That's possible. I think it's both, personally. I think that everyone does have to infuse these tools into their specializations. But I also see that there will, just like there's a customer success manager, right? That was invented at some point. And really the point of that job is it doesn't matter what the discipline is, it's about the outcome. And I think there will be something there that is AI native that I'm not hindered by just one discipline or just one role. Because the people who are really good at using these tools, it's a spectrum of outcomes. I don't know. There's not a better way to say it, that's coming to mind. But anyway, we'll see, right? We'll see.
We will see.
You have one left, I think.
I have two left.
Two left. Okay.
I do. Okay, so my next prediction is actually a bit of a reaction to a prediction that I've heard out there, and it is that China will not overtake the US and will not cause the AI bubble to burst in 2026. So there is this pundit, author, generally famous rich guy, Scott Galloway, and he has an argument that China, well, his quote is, China flooding the market with competitive and cheaper AI models will squeeze the margins and pricing power of the 7 largest companies in the sector. And that will be the catalyst for the AI bubble bursting. And so what that does is it has a cascade of effects where the AI bubble bursts. So that hurts the American economy. They want to do that for geopolitical reasons because they want to hurt America in general, maybe the Trump administration more specifically. And then also by hurting the American economy, that also hurts all of the AI companies, and they have less money to spend. There's less excitement and enthusiasm around the ecosystem in general, and then that allows China, they're not slowing down when that's occurring, and so then they can then also potentially speed past America and actually overtake them in their research and output, even if they still don't have the best chips. Because you can imagine the type of reaction, like if that occurs and the U.S. sees that as potentially an attack, then maybe they would, stop all NVIDIA chips, et cetera, et cetera. So you could see sort of like many different types of effects going on. But my point is that, one, the Trump administration will do anything and everything they can to keep the economy amazing for the 2026 elections. So there are deep political ties to the AI economy, and they're not going to let anything happen to it. They've already shown that they're willing to use the federal government to prop up failing U.S. businesses, and I'm looking at you, Intel, and they need the Mag 7 or the Mag 10, however you want to slice it. They need them to stay as strong as ever. And then sort of secondarily, I would say that I would, I'm way out over my skis here because I know almost nothing about the CCP and their efforts in this. So but if China does something like this, if they actually want to try and hurt the American economy by flooding the market with really amazing, cheap LLMs to disrupt everything that OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, et cetera, are doing, that they would wait at least until 2027 because they understand the political implications of 26, and that they would hope, Trump becomes a lame duck. Well, hopefully after 2026 elections, and is less politically motivated. And so, yeah, that's my position.
So let me ask you on that one, because obviously, like, the recent memory is DeepSeek, right? It's that reasoning was a thing, and then the models can, I don't know, you can have an open source model trained, and it doesn't, for this purpose, it doesn't really matter if it's open source or not, even though that is their current strategy. Are you saying even if there is a considerable Chinese improvement that they wouldn't try to flood it, that they might keep it back until later, withhold it, or am I misunderstanding that piece of it? Because I'm thinking of a technical breakthrough. Right.
No, that's not the idea. My understanding, and again, like I said, my prediction is a bit of a counter prediction to what and so my understanding is it's a more concerted effort, maybe putting money and purpose behind getting Americans, consumers and businesses, to use these models
like
instead of American models, but getting market share. It's not about, oh, we've got this new technical breakthrough. It's about what could they do to try and steal market share in America. And so his prediction, as far as I understand, is that and he doesn't elaborate on that. So there's some hand waving going on in the prediction, but that they would go on sort of a full attack to try and take market share away. And that's my prediction, is that's not going to happen. They're not going to attack it this year. And then therefore that won't be the catalyst for any AI bubble bursting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I would generally agree. And I think the one interesting piece also, like to yes, and I think there's a bipartisan aversion to using Chinese AI. I don't think that that's a left or a right issue. I think even the general public, if they're AI pilled into using AI, that it wouldn't be a Chinese option for the mainstream. So yeah, we shall see. I'm interested in the technical breakthroughs. I think of Ilya Sutskever's kind of age of research, not age of scale stuff, and and then DeepSeek, echoes, and it's like somebody, and I don't know that this is related to China at all, but somebody is gonna find the way to 10x something.
It's going to be Mistral. The French are going to do it.
No, they're going to get bought and acqui-hired like Perplexity. That's another one of those companies.
Actually, yeah. Okay, here's a sneaky prediction. That won't happen because Europe will see it as like existential for themselves. So
to keep one player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, there is a lot of regulation in the EU. They could do whatever they want.
A few.
All right.
All right. What do you got next?
Well, so we may have gotten off on numbers because I thought that I was going last with this one. So maybe there's one more that I wasn't aware of. But next one for me is number 5. It's the first AI native solopreneur billionaire. This has been whispered about. This has been, Nosferatu foretold in AI conversations where, you kind of take the agentic armaments of the promise of all these things, right? Like we can just have thousands or millions of agents doing our bidding, and they're all so smart and they're all going to generate revenue. So I think, this is something the moonshots guys talk about. This is something the all in guys talk about. It's a popularized idea, but my prediction is I'm drawing a line in the sand. It's 2026. I'm surprised it hasn't happened already. And what really brings it into focus for me is the value I'm getting day to day out of agents. And so if you take that to its logical conclusion, like you're seeing value, you see the growth, you see the intelligence improvements, that value is going to be captured and realized. And so, of course, maybe it's a 2-person team. Maybe it's a 3-person team. I think there's, uniqueness there.
No, I want a line in the sand.
I know the line in the sand is the one person. But I do think that the one person, the solopreneur who hits $1 billion in, and of course you can judge it as like, is it on paper? Is it a valuation, et cetera? But like, that's splitting hairs. You're a billionaire on paper. You're doing all right too. I think that though it's a 4-minute mile moment. Once someone is popularized based on this, that they are the one, they're the first AI solo billionaire, you're going to see small teams, more individuals. It will be a new class of kind of super wealthy individual. And I think that's, I don't have a prediction beyond that. I'm very interested if that helps to democratize high wealth opportunities, or if that, and I'm an optimist, so I would lean that way, or if that does kind of further divide the socioeconomic, from the super rich down to the rest of us.
Wait,
so
let me get this right. You're saying that a company that needs no workers is going to help more people make more money. Understood. Okay.
Blind optimism. Blind optimism.
Okay, cool. I completely agree. It's going to be 2026. You're totally right. It's going to be on paper. That's a part of the prediction. And my question for you, not that it really matters, I guess, but maybe give me 3 potential industries that you think it might occur in.
Did you listen to Kathy Woods on Moonshots recently?
I have not listened to that one. Oh no, I'm wrong. It's Wood. My bad. Kathy Wood. Apologies.
I want to get it right. Yeah, Kathy Wood.
Yeah.
I'm very fascinated by the point she was making about kind of uncovering new economic surface area, like things that we do that we don't get paid to do. And now she was talking about robots in this instance, like driving people to school. You don't get paid for it. People don't get paid for it. But then like when there's a service or a robot or something that's doing that, that's now new economic activity. I think that there's a lot of that opportunity in AI as well. Things that just weren't money makers, they weren't economic factors, can become that.
Well, it's just, I mean, maybe on my part, it's a bit of a dumb question in the sense that like, okay, so like, oh, in finance, in healthcare, in whatever, like just any market that's big enough to handle it. And cool.
Well, one of the pieces, just a cherry on top, I think when you talk about speed and you talk about industries, it's going to be unregulated industries, things like that, right? You're going to take factors about how quickly someone can, maybe that would be one of the variables, the swim lanes to play in there.
All right. Well, so to your point on we each had 5, I think you missed one of your predictions. I really do. I think look back at your list real quick. Did you
Well, I
do
did. Yeah,
5?
I did.
Just
I did
just
5. I started with with
revamp. Give me your headlines.
2026 is the real year of agents, right? Google is going to monetize Gemini by the end of the year. The foundation models commoditize. A new class of AI native jobs emerge, and the solopreneur billionaire.
You missed one
What did I
about
miss?
ads.
I didn't talk about Gemini and ads. I
Nope.
skipped right over it.
Right over it.
Son of a gun. I thought maybe I'm remembering that we talked about that one before before we
Yep.
turned the recording on. All right. Well, I'm going to go so you can finish. How about that?
That's perfect. All right.
Good deal. I believe that by the end of 2026, Google is heavily monetizing Gemini and their full AI suite. I think, again, I started by saying we do have a little bit of 2026 knowledge in our brains at this moment in our context windows because it is the end of January, early February. And what's happening in current events right now is that OpenAI announced that they're going to include ads in ChatGPT free version very soon, which got a lot of groans. And I'm an advertiser. I'm definitely biased, and there's a lot of interesting things I think to say about that. But whatever. Anthropic came out, which is a super flex, and said we're not going to do ads. So there you go. Let's differentiate right there, and I think that's interesting. And then I can't remember if it was Demis Hassabis. I think it was at Google DeepMind that said, "Oh, really interesting that OpenAI is rushing ads out into the marketplace. I wonder why they're doing that." And I think that was such a postured flex to say, we don't have to. We can wait. We can watch the reaction. We don't have to be the lead horse here. We already have the advertising infrastructure. But I think by the time 2026 is wrapping up, I think that it's so obvious that Google will be strongly pressured to show revenue gains on their leading models. I think it's not going to do harm to OpenAI. I truly believe that. And once Google sees it's not doing harm, they are going to be off to the races. So for me, for our clients, I'm very interested in what Google does. I'm more interested in what Google does with ads than I am with OpenAI until OpenAI proves that they can have a compelling offering. I think Google is just waiting in the wings to be the giant. And I think Meta is like maybe also interesting there, although they haven't figured out how to be interesting just yet. I think the advertising conversation really dominates towards the end of this year.
All right. I love this because this is going to be our first real disagreement. This will absolutely not happen in 2026. Alphabet has so much money, and they are playing for the long game, which is one of the reasons why I think that they might be the eventual winner of the entire thing. They have an amazing team. They have amazing leaders in Demis Hassabis and many others. And they have, well, I just Googled it. Their 2025 reported total revenue exceeded $400 billion. They have so much money. And what does OpenAI have? Not that. OpenAI needs money. They are raising like crazy, and there's all the news right now about NVIDIA. Oh, we never committed to that amount we were going to give them, and et cetera, et cetera. So like OpenAI has the issue of not being an established company with hundreds of billions of dollars coming in, like Alphabet, like Meta, like Amazon, like Apple, et cetera, right? And so they are a very specific type of company in a specific time, and they have to do things that make them more money. And so Google can differentiate themselves by keeping it ad-free. Anthropic did it too, but Google does not need ad revenue right now because even in the face of the rise of ChatGPT and AI in general, people were talking about, oh no, Google's in trouble, and what's going to happen to their search engine, and are they going to still be making money off of their ads? Because if they drop in their ad revenue, then that could have a cascading effect of them crumbling, and nothing. That has not happened at all. They're only increasing their ad revenue, and so they're not going to do it in 2026. But I do agree, it will happen eventually. Like they will transition to it, but not this year.
Fair enough. I mean, timing is a question. I would just pose back, Google, Alphabet being a public company, they work in quarterly cycles. And the idea that if OpenAI is making news with if they're, let's assume for a moment they're having success and their headlines are the ad revenue generated, which is a large amount, Alphabet's going to be very pressured to answer questions on their quarterly shareholder meetings by the end of the year about why they aren't and why they haven't. Because it's not just the revenue, it's the market share of ad dollars. And so if OpenAI has a compelling offering for advertisers, Google will be pressured to match that. Otherwise, they're going to risk losing the edge that they have that brought them to the $500 billion, $400 billion, annualized revenue.
I think as far as quarterly earnings go, I don't think they'll care at all. I know that might be a little naive on my part, but I think they're going to do whatever they want to do, and they have the ability, because they're so big, to think longer term than just quarter to quarter. I will say something that you just said sparked something, and it's that if OpenAI releases these ads and those ads start to eat into their ad revenue and their market share, and that actually occurs, there's something real there, then that might be the catalyst to make Google rethink it. But I don't think that's going to occur this year.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, you got the last one.
All right, I got the last one, and it does kind of dovetail. All right, my prediction is that Meta will be 2026's Google. Okay, where was Google in January of 2025 in the conversation around AI? Jesse, where were they? Yeah, exactly. People were laughing at them. They were talking about how they were going to fail, like I just said. Maybe not fail, but they were not a part of the conversation. And by December of 25, they were absolutely a part of who's the lead? Who's in the lead? Is it Gemini? Is it GPT? Is it Claude? And those three companies right now are seen as the leaders, and they're going to be releasing their models, and everybody likes them. Everybody thinks that they're generally, as good as one another, and they're better at certain things or whatever. And you know the story. So here's my case. Meta went on a massive hiring spree in 2025, spending billions on talent and infrastructure. Their 2024 capex was about $40 billion. In 2025, their capex was $70 billion, and in 2026, it's expected to exceed $100 billion. They made Llama closed source because they saw that their closed source path wasn't going to work out for them. They purchased Manus, the Agentic platform, and that team for $2 billion. They control one of the most important ad platforms in the world. And that ad platform passed $200 billion in revenue in 2025, which means they have a printing press for money that's going to increase for 2026. They essentially have all humans on Earth with expendable income glued to their products. They have successful physical products in their Ray-Ban glasses line, and Zuck is still as hungry as ever after missing mobile and VR flopping. By the end of the year, 2026, Meta's AI product will be in the conversation, just like Gemini entered the chat at the end of 2025.
I hope it's true. I'm a fan of competition, and I think Meta presents a creative, player, or represents a creative player in the space. I got a pair of the Gen 2 Ray-Bans for Christmas, and I love them. The glasses form factor, I am in love with. I like them so much, I want to pop the sunglass lenses out so that I can wear them around inside all day long. The problem with them is that the AI layer sucks, right? It's some Meta Llama something that isn't tremendously great and helpful. And so I want to jailbreak my Meta glasses and get Claude in there or get GPT in there. And yeah, I think Meta has to think creatively about their role in this space. I also think, you talked about world models. Meta is the leader with more history, knowledge, institutional knowledge, and probably users in the metaverse, right? This blip between when they thought it would happen and when it actually will happen. Because I think you and I are both long VR, long spatial computing and all that, right?
Yeah.
I don't know that happens this year, but I do think that Meta can still be very relevant. They also might spend themselves out of existence. It's just a tremendously expensive thing to stay relevant in if you're not seeing success. So also worth mentioning, dovetailing backwards, Meta's an advertising company. And so if they start losing any market share in their advertising, not that they're Google, if OpenAI is eating into social ads with Sora or whatever it winds up being at the end of the year, Meta might be in more trouble. So I don't know if I agree with you on it. I hope it happens. I think the most obvious, best path that I can see is physical devices, partnerships with physical device makers, and being that social real world layer. All right, so now that we've made these predictions, now that we've laid our cards out on the table, I have a question for the audience, because we just did however many minutes and 10 total predictions for the year, and we didn't mention Elon Musk or Grok once, right? Like, this is something that is a huge part of the AI ecosystem, and you and I are not Grokers. We are not, super active X users, and, setting politics aside, I don't know. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff that that's going to come out of that camp and out of that effort. So, as in the audience, what do you think is Elon's role in AI? Is XAI's role? They just merged with SpaceX or Tesla. I don't know. I can't keep up with it. But like, are they going to push the frontier, or are they going to kind of ride the coattails and be official and kind of be very subculture? I'm curious what the audience would say.
They merged with SpaceX, and of course, they're probably going to have their IPO later this year at over $1 trillion. It's because they want to put data centers in space. Well, not just because, but that's a big part of it, which insanely makes sense. It's crazy, but it does. I agree. We did leave out a massive, we've left out so much. Put it in the comments. What did we miss? What did you think about our comments, our predictions? And if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Please please subscribe, share it with your friends, let them know what we're doing here. We have so many more videos coming down the road for you all, and I think that will cover it for us today. We'll see you next time.